Hi there, everyone. This is Tyler, and I am here with the Gauntlet crew. Got the Gauntlet shirt on. If you've watched before, I played with the Gauntlet quite a bit, and some of the greatest, best gamers you're ever going to find in the whole wide world. If you're looking for the Gauntlet, we have a presence on Facebook and on G+, and you can find us at gauntlet-rpg.com. This is just days after we've started our Kickstarter for the first volume of Codex, which is our amazing fanzine, which has so much interesting stuff, so many phenomenal things. You should go take a look, find out about Gauntlet. It's wonderful. By the way, the latest edition of Codex has a game by me called Fire Ships at Midnight. So once you join and become a patron, you get access to this wonderful zine and some of the finest folks you'll ever get to game with. And I'll be introducing and showing them in just a moment. We're going to be playing Changeling, the Lost, but a Powered by the Apocalypse hack by Lowell Francis, who's a member of the Gauntlet. This has been in kind of play test, but we're getting here kind of the latest and greatest edition of it, and it's starting to sing. It's really good. Lowell's done an amazing job with it. And what it is we're playing people who were taken by fairy, taken by these unknown creatures into the land of Arcadia and changed, twisted, held in bondage until they managed somehow to escape. And they come back to the real world, perhaps years, perhaps decades, centuries even, from when they were taken to the world we have now. But it is a dark world, a world one could say almost of darkness. And we are having to deal with that. And we're playing in Chicago because Chicago is a city I love to play World of Darkness in. It's already pretty awful even in the real world. So we can very easily make it into the World of Darkness. Anyone from Chicago watching? Lovely city. I enjoyed when I was there. But we're going to be setting up these characters and figuring out what's going on with them. I want to mention first that we have the Gauntlet inclusivity policy in effect. What that means is we're here to support each other. We're all friends. We're all here to have fun. We have an open table policy. So should something happen that I don't want to play this, please, you feel free. You can go. But of course, the main thing is that we're all friends and trying to take care of each other to make sure we have fun together. And that's that sort of that drive of what the Gauntlet does. We also have the X card on the table, which for those of you who don't know, if something becomes problematic, becomes a little personal or unpleasant or just destroying your fun, you can hold up your hands like this. You can put something in our chat here, or you can just say, hey, Tyler, I think I want to X that. What I'll do is I may ask for a clarification just to know what we're working from, but we'll move back, reframe, go on forward. It's here for us to feel protected. And there are no questions asked. However, if something, you want to get off your chest, I always say you could put something in our chat. You could take a moment and say, hey, this is why this bugs me. Or we have our event page where we can feel free to communicate with each other. But we're here to support each other. So that X card is on the table to make sure we all feel safe. That said, I want to talk a little bit about tone. It's October, and I love horror. And this is a pretty dark game to begin with. So I like the idea of maybe some things that could be a little dark, a little terrifying. I like body horror personally, but I'm able to pull that back a bit. But I'm looking at something that's going to be kind of a dark story. We can alter that, when we talk here in a moment. But that's sort of my intent, is we're looking into some dark things going on, trying to avoid away from something like being too gonzo. As far as content goes, I personally prefer that we keep away from anything like sexual assault. I just don't see it. That's not a good place in our game. I don't see a reason for it. I also have a sort of line in there of abuse of the helpless. Those that have no recourse. I used to say children, but it's inaccurate because really I've played before, and once they get to 16 or 17, I'm willing to kill them off if they're the final girl. But it's because I feel they have certain agency. We're talking about children. We're talking about people who are handicapped, someone who has no agency to defend themselves and who is helpless. Is there any other lines and veils that folks might have? Please let me know. And of course, we always have the X card along with that. Chris, anything in particular for you, sir? No?
No, yours pretty much fit my bill.
All right. Darren, anything?
I have a veil for torture. Nothing on screen, please.
Excellent. Excellent. That's perfectly fine. I agree. Matthew, anything?
Mostly, I guess one thing is like intense descriptions of someone drowning or being forced to drown. And that's about it. That kind of goes in line with torture, but I guess, and that's just a veil.
I gotcha. That's perfectly fine. And Patrick.
I'm not a big fan of like on-screen violence against animals.
Absolutely.
We can run across the results of it, but I just don't want to have it described at me.
All righty. Okay. So we've got a nice set. All of this sounds perfectly fine, and I will be steering away from that. And again, if at any time something gets a little too much, feel free to X card. That's why it's there. So what we're going to do to begin with is give kind of a 2-minute pitch, a little elevator pitch for that character you're wanting to play. We're going to, in our character keeper, you see down there character creation on the bottom bit. And it comes down to selecting your playbook and selecting your court, assigning your stats, picking up 2 moves, name of your kith, decide your mask and mean, which is your mask is what you look like in your full, or is what you look like to mortal people. Your mean is what you look like in reality to other other changelings. Pick your rival, choose your standard entanglements, choose your romantic entanglement, and think about your intro questions. And so what I'd like for us to do is kind of in that elevator pitch, let's go through number 5 or 6. And we'll come down to the picking stuff afterwards. But this will give everybody a chance to kind of see what people are thinking of. And these can, we can meld them to see how we want to do once we get there. And then after that, I think we're going to do a little bit of world building to see what our Chicago's like. All right? Sound good? So, Patrick, you think you got a elevator pitch for your character?
Very basic. I could answer some of those.
All right. Which playbook you thinking of?
I'm doing Darkling.
Okay. Have you decided a court?
No.
All right. Well, do you have any idea of maybe what you're thinking of for the character to be like? Or should I skip over and give you a little time? And of course, we can all take some time. We ain't got to jump right in. Like I say, we got all the time in the world. 5 sessions. Phew. Like a vacation.
I've not figured out much past like mechanical bits.
Okay. Well, then we'll let you think about it. Matt, how are you doing? Is there any questions you might have or any thoughts on your character?
I'm doing okay. I think that this is kind of just coming out right now, but I think since we're playing in the Windy City, I'm going to be an air elemental of some type, which I know it's not. I don't think it's even one of the windiest cities in America, but what a name! So we're gonna go with that. I think I have a picture on Pinterest, at least of my changed form, which I will share in the Keeper somehow. Do you want to do those in the Keeper, or
you can put your picture up in the Keeper if you'd like. You can put it in the column with your court if you want to, or you can set them off to the side. We can have a little mess of our people if you want.
Great. I'm between spring and autumn, I think. Is it mostly just moves that are the differences? And I'm sure there's a lot of lore stuff, but I'm not too familiar with all of it.
Well, there are a couple of significant points mechanically. For one, Your court also has an emotion attached to it, and you will see those in your stats. And in the character keeper, it says in the stats what each of those are associated with. And using those, the one that's associated with your court is how you harvest glamour, which is a healing ability. It also kind of plays in one way or another with your changeling's personality. They tend towards one for one reason or another to that court.
Great. I'd probably like to go spring if other people are thinking of going darker things, but I could also do fear very happily. I'm a little indecisive right now, but
that's fine.
I'm going autumn if you want to pick something not autumn.
Yeah, I can be breezy and innocent and naive and be ruined by the end of the series. That sounds good to me.
we do this often, don't we?
I think we do.
All right. Well, Darren, what are you thinking of? Matt, do you feel like that gives us an idea to start with for you?
I think so. And the questions you were looking at first were the ones on the left?
Yeah. How do you in character creation, you're gonna go ahead and assign your stats and pick up your moves and decide your kith, which is really just a descriptive term for your for what you're like. You'll see there's some examples. And then after that, we'll start building up after we do world build, we're going to build up our kind of the bonds, the relationships that come along.
Thanks.
Darren, what you thinking?
Well, so I think my good friend is going to be wizened for the autumn court. And I think that I forgot what I was thinking for like before their endurance, but anyway, now they're like a tattoo artist is what they work as, and I think during their endurance they were like recording things, so that's what their like obsessive task was. They had to like write everything down, so that reflects onto their like mien as this like basically their skin is like cracked and frail and falls off as like literal like tattoo imagery or something like that, and then like instead of fingerprints there's like ink stains.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I think so so they're working like as a tattoo artist, and I think they do that for the freehold, and maybe they're with autumn because there's kind of this like perverse like need to keep finding things out, even though like before they were just recording things, not really learning them. Now they want to like learn things instead of just record them, something like that.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. I like it. Like it. Chris, thoughts you're having?
Well, I was looking at the Beast playbook, and I think I've kind of settled on that. And I found some really awesome looking pictures of gnolls in business suits with top hats, and I'm going with that.
Fantastic. Have you thought about a court?
I'm looking at probably summer, because you know, hyena is nothing if not aggressive. So I think I'm going to settle on summer court.
All right, cool. So kind of look through your stats, how you want to line them up, and this game, I'm going to come back and check and see your court, Patrick. But I'm going to say there's when we go through moves, you're going to choose which of your stats most reflects the move. This is in the style of the Veil. Lo also has Hearts of Woodland that he's been doing. So when we do things, you'll be rolling with which stat seems appropriate. Keeping in mind your court stat will be what you pretty much always are going to be using when you're collecting glamour. So, Patrick, did you decide on a court? Going to double up or choosing winner?
Again, I've run into this one before, but if there are 3 of the other courts, like I just feel like it would be appropriate to choose winter, and I'm a fan of winter, so I'm not going to resist it.
All right. So we have kith from each of the courts, which is pretty cool for a motley, And we have a beast, a wizened, an elemental, and a darkling. Cool. So, as y'all are kind of looking through it, picking your moves and doing these stat things, let's talk a little bit about what we want our Chicago to look like. So first question is, what do we think the courts, how do they get along? And we'll just go down, and this is kind of flagging how we want to see the courts dealing with each other, what y'all want to do as tension and allies and, you know, the little bits of politics. So, Chris, what do you think the courts do? Do they get along? Is there problems? What are you thinking?
Oh, I think there are always problems. And the way that the weather has been shifting in the Chicago area lately seasonally, I think is playing havoc with the relations between the courts, or maybe the fact that the courts are having bad times together is causing the seasons to go wacky. But particularly the summer and autumn courts are constantly at each other's throats about politics in the city and about what's going on. The summer wants to deal with the incursions that might have been going on lately more aggressively, like institute patrols, that sort of thing. Whereas autumn wants to gather intelligence. They want to map things out, post sentries, but not do patrols. They don't want to fight. They want to learn.
Okay.
And there's a whole lot of friction about that.
I'm going to ask real quick then, do you think these conflicts turn out to be like open fighting, or is it just political wrangling? What degree do you think that comes out at?
I think it's mostly political wrangling, but every once in a while, like it's never the top guys that get into the fights. You know, they're always like staring stoically or occasionally yelling across the room at each other. It's the folks in the trenches that get pissed enough at each other to have a throwdown. And it's usually more like on the bar fight level of stuff.
Gotcha. So it's not like going around killing and assassinating each other. It's more like getting into fights over the points being made.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Well, let's go over to you, Darren. Thinking about, it sounds like we have some contentious stuff, but as I'm coming down here, we can make amendments as it grows. What are you thinking about how the courts are getting along and any particular issues that they're having?
Yeah, I like there kind of being this big conflict with summer and autumn that's kind of being reflected in the weather, and maybe we're like not sure if it's because the season seems like it's shifting or because the conflict is causing the seasons to shift. I like that ambiguity. I think maybe there's a relationship between the courts. Yeah, maybe this keeps getting fueled too because like spring feels like they're being diminished. So maybe they're backing summer a lot more and they're like adding to this court intrigue. And then like winter is like letting this chaos happen because like winter is probably going to be really harsh and winter will be able to like hold power pretty strongly. So maybe they're just like sitting back and letting it happen and maybe like fomenting it.
Right. Ooh, I like that. That sounds cool. Okay, so we're coming in there with the idea of spring and summer sort of working together against autumn, while winter looks above with disdain, going, ha 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 ha, it's all going to be mine.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Also like, again, that, this weirdness of weather and climate, is it cause or effect? I think that's cool. Matt. I do want to ask you, Darren, because I'm going to have a question at the end of all of these. Do you think that the courts each have some separate place that is their court's like home? Or do you think there's like a big court in the center, some place where everybody sort of considers court itself?
Oh, think of it. That's interesting because Chicago does have pretty distinct neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if we want to place courts in neighborhoods and tie them to sort of populations and socioeconomic conditions.
That could be really cool.
Yeah. Or what do I think? I think yeah, I mean, I think I like that.
Okay.
I think I like that idea, but I'm very into what other people have to say about it. I'm not really tied to it because I think both are cool. I think the idea that the Fae, the Changeling, like freehold exists like very separately from the city is interesting, and we see the effects at an individual level instead of a factional level.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other hand, I think it's interesting if like there's a sort of geopolitical basis to the conflict also. I think I'm overthinking this.
Well, we'll see then what other people, as they add on into that, because there's a lot of play to that. All right. Matt, any thoughts you have for how the courts deal with each other? Maybe a little bit of question on how, the physical places they are.
Yeah, I think it would be fun if the courts were sort of employing tactics where each of them thought they sort of were taking advantage or getting the upper hand, but sort of like maybe ploys that are happening that most of the members of each court aren't aware of, and maybe only the higher ups are like aware that's happening. So we don't necessarily need to go too like intrigue-y, but I like the idea that everybody thinks that they're ahead or thinks that they have, the key thing that's going to like get the upper hand in the conflict, but everybody is thinking that, so it's not really going to happen.
Gotcha. So all of these things almost end up as zero sum. Everybody's constantly doing stuff, so no one's getting ahead.
Yeah, or someone does have that actual thing that's going to work, but they don't expect it because they think that their own thing is the best. Like just sort of an arrogance all around, sort of.
So advantage is sort of unknown. Everybody thinks they have it.
Yeah, and maybe it's just unwillingness to admit that they're losing or to admit that they're weak in an area. But that's just my idea of Fae, is that they are intelligent and sharp, but they can be arrogant to a fault sometimes.
I like that. Okay. Any thoughts that you have on, like, would you see there being one big central freehold keep? Or do you think each court maintains these fairly separate things, and maybe there is something in the middle, but it's nothing compared to the court ones? What are you thinking?
That's a cool idea. Yeah, I'm pretty in between. I like the idea that they're close enough, or they have to be, so that they need to see each other regularly, or that there can be conflict more often. They can't just like totally go to the other sides of the cities. But I also like that there is some geographical thing. So it could either be a central area that's split into sort of areas, and I don't know exactly like if the freehold needs to be, like if they all need to be somewhere specifically. I should say that I'm not too familiar with a lot of the Changeling stuff. I did a bit of reading, but I'm going to leave some of the lore stuff to you folks. But I'm pretty easy, but I do like the idea that they have to meet sometimes and they have to cross paths sometimes because of something necessary.
I like that too. So we'll put down maybe that there is some sort of gathering or some sort of formal togetherness. All right, and we'll see how we refine that down as we go. My other question is, how do you think the Changelings interact with mortal politics? Do you feel like the Changelings have their fingers in a bunch of mortal pies? Or is it almost like, it's parallel worlds that barely touch?
I like that they don't overdo it for fear of just various things, but I do like that each court has specific things within mortal politics that they're really invested in or are very important to them, either maybe geopolitically or maybe just because of their leaders and what they're interested in. But I like that there's a lot of investment in certain things, but it's not like a control everywhere. It's just like, this is really important to us, so we're going to interfere here.
Okay, so are you thinking maybe that it's fairly organized by court, so that as an example, the police or something Summer takes a real interest in, Or do you think it's more like individuals of each court are drawn to something and therefore they kind of have control things about it?
Yeah, I sort of like a little more of the second one. I mean, the first is okay, but that it's more of like a policy or an ideology thing that may be enforced by a few strong leaders within the court, or it could just be an overall thing. But I like that certain things are important to certain other ones, but then those things become important to the other courts because they might need to stop them, from gaining. These are kind of long way around answers, but
no, I like it.
Cool.
Okay. So moving over to you, Patrick. Anything you see in how the courts interact, opinions you might have on like physical structure, do the courts come together? Are they separate? How are they in your mind?
I don't know. I thought it would be sort of interesting if the courts were like around the University of Chicago area, and then I sort of got to thinking like, what if they were in the university in a sort of like haunting the places at night or in between times when other people are there, or going down side hallways and into lecture rooms that are sort of adjacent to reality and things like that.
Do you think that's like all the courts have that going on, or is it like a particular court has that? Is that like a central hub, you think?
Yeah, I would think like all of them would have different areas, but that this is some sort of weird magical architecture or contract thing that's gone on here at the university to sort of make these side paths for them.
Okay. Well, then kind of going with and playing a little bit with glamour you, playing a little bit with what we've talked about earlier. Do we think maybe the university is this central? It's important to everyone. Everyone has access, and then we have like the spaced out places where the courts consider their own.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking.
That seems good. All right. I like that too. We'll see how that... I think that would work out neat. That kind of plays with a lot of what we're doing. And a question for you. In Changeling, we have, the world that we live in, the mortal world. And we have the hedge. What do you think... is Chicago a place that is regularly a part of the hedge? Is there goblin markets around? Is it a close overlap on the city? Or do you actually have to go and find it? Is it more a hidden place?
I mean, I'm always a fan of it being like potentially around every corner or in any shadow sort of thing. Of like, if you open the wrong doorway or turn this thing the wrong way, like you'll go down a path that isn't quite real anymore.
Gotcha. So the hedge is a constant thing about, it lurks just on the other side of every corner. You like that? Mm-hmm. Cool. I like that too. All right. Well, I'm gonna come back to you since Chris, you've heard all of these things, and I want to just... anything you'd like to interject after hearing everything?
No. I think that that covers a lot of good stuff there. I like that.
I like that too. All right. So we've kind of got an idea for our Chicago. Sounds like it's fractious, constantly squabbling, but it's not like outright war. There is a center freehold, which everyone can claim as this is the place that Chicago changelings can come to. It is safe. It is ours. But each court maintains a pretty strong presence somewhere. And since we have someone from every court, once we get through all our questions, I'm probably going to ask, we'll find out where each court's hold up. I think that'll be fun to hear. But for right now, we'll just, each of them have staked out a place where that court has its strength. We're looking at the weather and the climate, and has causes problems in his own people's changelings' minds, but we're not real sure if it's cause or effect that it's happening. With the seasonal courts fighting each other, it may be a product of that. We know that spring and summer kind of work together. We know that autumn is in opposition to them in a lot of ways. And we know that winter kind of keeps themselves aloof and laughs at their petty little struggles. And we know that the hedge is always around us. We never get the chance to forget where it was we were stolen off to. So I think that sounds like a pretty good starting setup for us here. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go through and answer all of our little questions and get to know these characters better and make some connections between them. I want to say that I'm doing, this is a quarterly set. There'll be 3 in the set each month, but I intend for each of them to be episodic. They're going to be enclosed stories. My hope is that looking at it, it's got that kind of a little anthology sort of feel to it. So we'll be completing our story in our time here. People who are playing, though, can certainly, and in other ones, and I'll be posting up the 3rd month here in a week or so. You carry your character through. We're not going to be restarting on any of that. That's terrible. You build up your cool shit. All right. So looking at your characters, your playbooks, you will see on the left-hand side there is a rival tab, and then there is entanglements, where you pick 2 and assign a debt to and a debt from you. Debts are things that let you call in a favor. If you have if someone owes you a debt, you can kind of drop their name. There's a move for that will help you out. Of course, there's always problems with debts of, if you use your debt, it burns up, you don't have it anymore, you drop that name, they may get pissed off, that sort of thing. And we will do one of those with an NPC and one of those with one of your motley mates. So when we look through those. And then we have our romantic entanglement, where you will choose a romantic entanglement with someone that will kind of flavor the feel. It doesn't have to be, like... in a lot of these descriptions, it doesn't mean that it's, already you're all, together or something like that. And it doesn't even have to be sexual as much as that romantic style of I have fallen in love. I have this pining. It can be all sorts of degrees from there. So, I think we'll start with you, Patrick, if you don't mind terribly. Why don't we look, and I'm going to pull my own page up here for the Darkling.
So you want to do the intro questions?
Let's do your... Well, no, I think first we do our entanglements.
Okay.
Yes, our intro questions are last in our little setup. So, rival. Who do you think's your rival and why?
So I went with Mr. Pinch, smoke scene elemental of autumn. And I think he may be a loyalist, but I can't prove it.
What have you seen that makes you think that?
I think I saw him in the hedge, like on my way to or from a goblin market at some point, and I saw him talking to, I don't know, just someone that looked like they were part of the gentry. Like I know it wasn't a member of the Chicago courts, and didn't recognize them as like someone that worked at the market.
Mm-hmm.
So that means they're from deeper in the hedge somewhere.
Excellent. All right. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on Mr. Pinch. For your entanglements, pick 2 and assign a debt to and from you. And one of them should be an NPC, and one of them should be one of your motley mates. And of course, you could offer them up, or you can suggest to someone.
Yeah, I like I'm hiding something for person 1 to keep it away from person 2. Does anyone feel particularly like I might be hiding something for them?
I think you could be hiding something for me.
Okay.
No, Autumn Court Wizened. What would you hide from me? To keep it away from someone else. Maybe it's like what do I do? I think maybe it's like instructions for something. Leave it as nebulous as that until we figure something out. I don't know.
That sound good, or Patrick? You think you have an idea for what it might be instructions for?
No, not particularly.
We can play to find that one out, but who are we hiding it from?
Probably me.
Ooh.
I just seems like you hide things from my character.
Oh, that makes it a full motley enclosed thing. That seems.
Oh, is
cool.
it? It doesn't have to be PCs for this.
It could be an NPC. Yeah.
Okay.
What you think, Patrick?
I don't know. Are you interested in doing that, Matt?
Yeah. So it's hiding something for Darren's character to keep it away from my character. I mean, it sounds cool. It sounds like it could give us something good to start off with.
You do have courts that are in opposition.
Yeah, and it could just be like a personal thing, like something I shouldn't see, or something that you don't think I should have. It could be like something Ash did to someone I care about, or something that I care about, to sort of keep it away from me. It could be information. It could also be, yeah, it could be something that maybe I had if we're going with instructions, it could be maybe Ash knows somebody that I knew that died or something, and wanted to tell me something when they, it told Ash, like, right because one of my rival things is someone knows something about the disappearance of one of my friends. So it could be that I'm kind of going a little too deep with this one probably, but they told Darren's character to tell me something, but you don't need to be hiding that for them.
What if it was something that we knew that if you knew about it, like, you'd have to turn over to your court? You've made some agreement that you, like, we're protecting you from a contract that you've made, sort of thing.
That's good. Yeah, and one of the other ones is someone tricked me into a pledge or something, and I wanted to ask a little more about pledges, but it sounds like it could play into that too.
It absolutely could. We'll pull to that, and that still leaves that nice openness for we can play to learn.
Of what it is and why.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That sounds like a good entanglement. So you got that written down, Patrick?
Yeah.
Would you like for me to go to the next person with their rival in entanglement, or you want to do all yours at once?
I think it'd be cool to hear some other people's relationships start to build up, so I can start to play off that.
All right, then. Matt, why don't you do your rival and your first entanglement, and then we'll come through with that, and then we'll wrap around for the last two.
Sure. So my entanglement is Beck and Call. That's a funny name. Beck and Call, high collar, fairest of spring, tricked me into a pledge. And it was probably like, they know about my motley, that we're, from 4 different courts. I don't know how that reflects on the court politics itself, but that they tricked me into something that could sort of compromise my friends, or like that I'd be forced to tell them anything that I knew about them, or I don't know the specifics here, but because I'd like to get a specific pledge down, because I know that Fae, promises are very specific.
Mm-hmm. And to kind of tell you these pledges, they are contracts. They are things that bind you, and they bind you in a supernatural way. Breaking them where no one sees isn't going to protect you. That sort of thing. So what are you thinking that Beck and Call might have asked of you that you pledged to do, or did you a favor and asked this in return? What do you think that might be? And you don't have to be too specific. Again, we can play to learn more. But, you know, an idea of maybe, was it a favor he did that you owe, you know, that now you're stuck with? Or do you think that it was full on, he caught you when you were unawares, stuck you with something, and now you're just stuck. You got nothing for it. That's why he's such a dick.
Yeah. Well, I like that, you know, spring and summer are sort of somewhat banding together in this. So this could be a, you know, anybody autumn, like that, you know, hold no secret for them or something like that. Or I want it to be a little more specific than just like tell us everything about this person, because they can really be anything. But I like that it's something against autumn specifically. Because, and maybe this beck and call person is they're one of the most outspoken against autumn in the court, so they're almost militant about it. Does the title High Caller mean anything to you? Does that have like a specific connotation in the game
for
itself?
His what his kith is?
Yeah, or if like High Caller Fairest is a title for a court member, or if it's just like a
it's his kith, so it is an innate part of his nature. I would, you know, we can lay down kind of what we think. I've kind of seen him with that High Caller as one of the most eloquent, one of the ones who would get out there and express. But we could play that different if you have a different idea.
Yeah, well, it's actually spelled caller as in Caller.
Right, as in one who speaks. Yeah, calling.
But they are still the fairest, right? So that's a very spring thing. Yeah, I'm not quite getting there right now.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. You can, again, we can play to learn, but do we want to say that there's some spying element that's involved there?
Yes, I like that. And that's what Patrick's character is covering up for Ash.
Right, that plays really well into that entanglement all around. Is something there that's having to be kept from you because they may be a little aware you're stuck with spying on them. What's that next entanglement you'd like to pick up? And again, one for a motley, one for an NPC. So whichever you'd like.
Great. Okay. Well, Darren and myself had a bit of a mentoring situation last game, so I might not pull that one again straight out. But it's person 1 suffers through teaching me, but person 2 keeps interfering. How do they get in the way? So I do like the idea that I'm fairly young. I'm not going to play the totally naive character. I think I'm a little sharper, but I do like that someone is still mentoring me, and it could be the wizened if. Chris, if your character is the teaching type or someone who would look to mentor others. It could also be an NPC that maybe you're interfering with because you don't agree with their teachings. Do you find either of those interesting?
Well, I'm the beast right now. I think Darren.
Oh, I keep getting
Darren would be Darren's your wizard.
Hey, Darren.
We always find ourselves here, don't we?
Well, what if this time someone else is teaching me and they're actually maybe doing a good job, but you're interfering because you don't like what they're teaching me?
Wow. Yeah. I like that angle.
That sounds neat. Either one of them, Chris or Patrick, either one of y'all want to volunteer maybe as that mentor type?
I'm not sure what Humorous Pete would really be teaching you.
Or might it be like someone from his court?
Or it could be an NPC, absolutely. Anybody on that NPC list out of your court you like, Matt?
Yeah, so I guess I could say a couple character details that I didn't mention before. My characters, I settled on a name and then I forgot. Oh yeah, my character's name is Keen, Keen, and she was taken by a fairy to sort of be the air in their hummingbird garden that would play the chimes for them, basically. So I'm like the air that would create the beautiful melodies, sort of thing.
I love it.
And it was always a joyful thing. But I think that I sort of repress those things because they sort of like are traumatic for me because it was an imprisonment, right? So calm and joy, maybe I'm not, or at least calm, I'm not so good with. So that's a little bit of my character thing. Now NPCs. So I'm kind of hopping around on this whole thing.
That's all right.
Ooh, oh, look at Beck and Call. Hello. Oh gosh, I like Semolina Pilchard, who's sort of a figure of beauty, and maybe I'm a little young, and while I'm not totally naive, I'm not as concerned. I think I have natural beauty, but I'm not good at conveying it, and I think they're trying to get me to be this sort of. They think I have this like inner potential to be one of the fairest in spring, but I don't really care too much about that.
All right, so Semolina. I always want to call her Salmonella, and that's not right.
I'm sure someone will call her that by the end.
But Semolina is trying to teach you, trying to mentor you, but for some reason, it would appear that I'm so sorry. I know I have your name. I saw it first. Ash, yes. Ash, you are trying to interfere with it. So I'm going to ask Ash, what is it about her? You is doing this wrong, or why are you interfering? Do you think?
I think I'm interfering because one of my intro questions is what rule is most important to you, and I decided since Ash was like tasked with recording everything, most of what he was recording probably wasn't true because it's the Fae. So now he takes the stance that like truth is like objective and like empirical. And I think that Semolina is too Fae-like in her subjectivities.
Perfect. Love it. All right. So Matt, go ahead and put those in your character keeper there, your rival in that first entanglement. And Darren, comes to you. Who is your rival?
My rival is Squintborn, a shriek-thin darkling of the autumn who keeps secrets from me and the Freehold. And I've got a problem with it.
Wonderful. Now, do you think that he's keeping secrets? Is he keeping secrets because, and you don't have to answer in full, but just to kind of put it out there, you think he's keeping secrets that are like here Chicago secrets, or do you think he's like keeping secrets so deep they're like Fae secrets?
I don't know if they're Fae secrets, but I think they're hedge secrets. So I think like maybe I'm like worried that they could become Fae secrets, but maybe it's like he knows where goblin markets are going to show up before the goblins announce it or something. It could be really innocent, but maybe not.
Excellent. Ooh, I love it. All right. And your entanglement. Which one there? Either for an NPC or your motley mate?
Yeah, I want to do this person one. My court superior believes I'm in the service of person two from my rival court. So if person one will be an NPC from the autumn court, I'm just going to be real simple and use this NPC example list. And who's the autumn court?
And do you think this person is like the prince or just a court official?
Man, I think that prince is interesting. Oh, I really like that actually. I won't use the NPC example, but yeah, I think it's a prince. I like that this is like potentially a high level intrigue.
Okay.
They are a prince. And they think that I'm in the service of, it could be anyone else because no one else is an autumn court. Does anyone want to be a presumed interloper?
Yeah, open it up for the folks here. Or do we think it's an NPC? Patrick?
I'm good with interloping.
Nice. Yeah, I think they were all interesting choices. So I was like, well, summer obviously, but then it's like, well, spring could be really interesting because they're backing out. Then I was like, well, winter is also very interesting because that would be like an interesting angle too. I think for a prince to be like stop fucking around with this winter court guy or gal or whomever, and
I like rumors or like conspiracy theories of like maybe the winter isn't as detached as they like to seem, that sort of thing.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
And
who
then-
do you think that prince is on the autumn selection there, or do we want to leave it open for a bit?
I'll glance at the NPCs real quick. Not
Okay.
not Lean and Hungry Mike. Mr. Pinch is already taken.
Well, I mean, you could still choose Mr. Pinch. I just have suspicions about him. It might be interesting if that was about the prince, but go with what you feel.
That would be interesting. I think I want to make a new PC, a new
Okay.
What's Widen the Web? I don't know their name. I don't know. Maybe it's something like I like the idea that they're like maybe like a fairist.
Okay.
Maybe they're obsessed with this sort of like prestige battle, which is why there's no like open accusations or anything, right? I don't know a name.
Want me to come up with a name?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Changeling names are like difficult for me for some reason. I can't just be like, it's Mike.
Singing Branches, who
Oh.
is a Flutterfall Fairist.
I love it.
And if you want to look for a picture, feel free. If not, I'll find one eventually. Though I probably should have moved these names down further. Okay. All right. So put that into your character keeper. And I love that. That's really neat. I think we're seeing really cool intertwinings going on. Which comes to you, Chris. All this shit's going on, and you get the chance to make your imprint. Who is your rival?
I think it's going to be Abyssinian Max.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, I think, and I think it's a really almost petty rivalry. Like they are both impeccable dressers, and they have just a pretty obvious hate on for each other because they constantly try to outdo each other with their suits. On the character keeper, I posted the Noel in a suit pick I found, which is, and I think he and Max are just constantly going back and forth with trying to one up each other every time they show up for something.
Awesome. Where'd you put him, by the way?
Oh, it should be on the Beast character keeper on this.
I'm sorry. I went over and looked at NPCs. Oh, look at you. Oh, I love him. Oh, I love that suit. Oh, that's fantastic. All right, awesome. So Abyssinian Max is your rival, and it's in kind of a social and, the flashiest dresser, the coolest dude, the coolest beast on the block sort of thing. Awesome. Does it come in, is your conflict mostly one-upmanship, or do you go out there and actually square off on occasion?
I think at this point it's only been one-upsmanship. Like the summer and winter aren't directly hostile right now, and the hostility seems to stop at the line with autumn right now between the courts. So the courts have discouraged us from doing anything other than that. Like the higher ups have said, you guys can argue about your suits and insult each other's fashion all you want, but we're not interested in making this anything more than that.
Cool.
So,
all right.
Well, we might want to have a throwdown, every once in a while when one of us gets a really good barb in, like the other one might want to jump. But so far, the higher ups have kept a lid on us.
I'm going to steal Abyssinian straight from Lowell's characterization as he goes, "Hey, you put a puppy in a suit. He's still not fashion, yeah."
I love Lowell's version of that character, so that will work out perfectly.
All right, and your entanglement.
Okay, and we're doing one of these with involving NPCs, and one of them involving our fellow folks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. let's see. I think right now I am. A couple ideas for this, and I might have. I think my first one is going to involve the protection racket.
Okay.
I think he is protecting, and this is the NPCs. He's protecting Zetra Mercy in the NPCs list. From Abyssinian Max. They're both in the same court.
Nice.
And I think what's going on is Max is doing like a long-term power play court-wise, and he's looking to kind of scapegoat Mercy for a couple of screw-ups that he did earlier. Like just a couple of schemes that didn't go particularly well. And one of the things that Pete's been doing is throwing monkey wrenches into that blame game, like making it harder for him to pin things on her specifically.
Excellent. All right. And do you think, I mean, is this something that you think you're hired to do, or is it because this is really your friend, or just because you want to fuck with Abyssinian Max?
I think it's a little bit as he does like Mercy. I think he does like her, because she's a pitch grinner. I mean, they have a similar temperament. They laugh at dark things, but he also really freaking despises Max. So it's really tough to determine which one of those is his main motivation there.
It can be two things.
The all things.
Excellent. Fantastic. So write that in, and I'm going to come back to you, Patrick, your second entanglement, which, and then you'll do your romantic one. But your second entanglement, I think, needs to be a...
Well, I have to have an NPC involved.
NPC in this one, doesn't it?
So I guess I have the dirt on what person 1 did to person 2. I'm leveraging that for their help with something.
So what you thinking? Who do you have dirt on?
Sure, I was trying to tie this back into the Motley somehow, but I'm not sure how.
It's fine. We can have some extra strings out there.
I love having secrets, so feel free to make up dirt on me.
I'm not sure. These other two entanglements are both weird.
Okay. Well, is the issue that is having the dirt on someone something you're not as interested in? We can always amend things and change them up a little.
Yeah, I'm just having a hard time seeing where it fits in, or like who it would attach to.
Okay. Well then, how about this? As find you again, there you are. rather than having the dirt on someone on what they did to this other person and leveraging it to help, you think maybe you know some sort of secret on someone, or you secretly helped out someone when they worked against that person too, or we could come up with something even, off of these set ones to be more of a, I've helped, I've learned something that would be of interest to this person, but this other person would be opposed to me telling them.
I don't know.
Well, I can give you some time on that. That's no problem. We can learn into that one. How about the romantic one then?
So I lied repeatedly to get close to object of affection, but their lover, person one, suspects the truth. Because the sort of idea I went with was a mirror skin kit and the mimic move. And so I think he can look like other people, copies other people. So I think that's the lied repeatedly, is I imitated other people repeatedly to get close to someone.
Okay. Who do you think that someone was?
I like Legion's Lost.
I always love Legion's Lost. That's such a pretty picture.
In winter.
Okay. So you've gone around pretending to be other people just so you can be close to legions. Ooh.
Trying to think of the other side. What were you saying?
I was going to say, do you think that this is like an attraction, a hope that they're going to fall for you? Or do you think that it's more of just being near them? You're not trying to fool them into falling in love with you. Just being near them makes you happy. Is it active or more passive?
I think it's probably more active.
So being around trying to find out exactly what it'll be that could make them fall for you. Oh, I like that.
Just looking through, trying to figure out who their current lover would be. I like Songbird Rex.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Dino Bird romance. It's everything.
Yeah. All right. So trying to work to move old legions off of that and fall instead for you. Love it. All right. So write those in, and I'll come back to you for that second entanglement. So look those over and just or think of something different that you might like. Let's go over to you, Matt. Second entanglement and romance.
All right. So I think the entanglement I'm going to choose is person one gets me access to my favored glamour emotion, but at the expense of pushing out person two. What's the source? So as far as I understand, changelings harvest emotions from usually mortals, and it sort of gives them their power and the essence that they need to kind of keep living.
That's correct. And it comes from your court. So with spring, you harvest joy.
Great. So that's perfect. I like that. So, and usually it's implied that there would be some mortal that is getting me this, right? So I could have a more, okay, cool. What is our situation as a motley? Are we assumed to live together? Like, what actually brings us together?
We are all assumed to be friends, and as motley mates, we take care of each other. I'm going to come to asking, we know we at the very least have one character who has his own spot because our beast has a den. Now, we'll come together to decide if we all have separate homes, if we just meet up at the clubhouse, or if we text each other and meet up for things like that. Or you could have, some group place y'all stay. That's open if you have an idea that you want to work with there.
Well, I was thinking it could be fun that someone here is my roommate, and I have this person, this mortal, like over all the time, and they need to leave because of how obnoxious we are, or that I don't know. I don't know if anyone wants to volunteer on getting infringed upon by my relationship to this mortal, but whoever feels like being annoyed could volunteer. So it is joy for sure. So I was thinking it could be like a music thing because I did do the chime thing with the Fae.
Mhm.
So, but I it should be a little more serious than it's just annoying because we jam at my house and they have to leave because we suck. So the thing that's getting me is the expense at pushing out person 2. So is it it could be implied that sort of we have something about the nature of our relationship is alienating another person. And I don't know exactly how that is. This one is really interesting, but
well, it could be along the lines of this is someone who could also be a source of glamour for someone else, but you say you want joy from them. Say they're a folk singer who always wants to be writing sad songs, but you've got them doing poppy stuff, and so you're shoving someone out who could be harvesting the sorrow.
That's funny.
But as an example, but it's that sort of thing. Or it could be like you're saying, just being around them makes this friend or this person that you're close with go, I fucking cannot stand this anymore.
Yeah. I kind of like that it's someone who I like having around all the time, but one of the other 3 of you just detests them, or something that they've done to you, or just something about them just really gets to you.
Anybody want to jump on that? Probably shouldn't be Ash since you're already involved in that other one.
I might be able to take that. Kind of what kind of relationship do you think you have with this person?
I think that I can be a very joyful person, but I'm not usually, because of all the court politics sort of overwhelms me and how my mentorship is getting to me and everything. So this is sort of my outlet for getting to be the sort of like breezy, fun, bubbly person that I can be otherwise. So I imagine it's just another girl around my age, or another person around my age, and we sort of do the things that young people do. And it's probably. So I don't know, like, I don't know too much about your character yet, so I don't know what would really get to Humorous Pete, but it's definitely like a sort of besties kind of situation, and we're probably really annoying about it. But you could really pick anything about this person, and I would be on board if there's something that's really opposed to what your character is.
So what do you think, Pete? What is it that makes this person just annoying as heck?
Ooh, I think for Pete, I think this. I think it's her sense of humor. I think she has this weird, for him at least, this weird, off-putting sense of humor. Like, I'm going to put this in old man terms. It's like when I try to watch something that my kids think is hilariously funny, and they will roll and laugh, and I will just be staring at it, going, I don't understand why that was funny. I don't get it. That's not funny. That's just stupid. It's that sort of thing. That's
like perfect.
You guys are rolling on the floor laughing at some joke on, like, say, the regular show. That type of humor, and Pete is going, no. That's not funny. That's just a non sequitur. That's not humorous at all. There's nothing funny about that. Why are you laughing at it? And she feeds that part of you, and he hates that because you make it's like somebody with bad puns. You make those terrible things when she's not around because she's like geared you up to do it all the time. And it drives him crazy.
Okay. And this is implying that you two are fairly close most of the time. That we see Keen and Pete kind of together a lot because this other person is annoying and puts them off. Do we think that normally the two of you are pretty good buddies? Do you hang out together? Are you a roommate? And Chris, I'll give you this Because that's asking on to your character. What do you think?
I don't think Pete would mind having a roommate. His personality is a bit more, humorous and laughable than most beasts. Like he's good natured most of the time, and his den is going to be at Navy Pier. So,
excellent.
So who would not want to hang around Pete's Navy Pier den?
Exactly. There's a roller coaster.
There's all sorts of stuff. There's games. There's restaurants. I'm sure there's at least 2 bars. I remember one, but I'm sure there's at least 2.
That's excellent.
Awesome. Cool. And your romantic entanglement, Matt?
I was thinking it would be also funny if I picked Pete to be involved in this in some way or another, because he hates my friend and is starting to resent me. But it could be I keep going back and forth between my friend, who I'm kind of in love with, but also not sure if that's a thing for me, and Pete. Or, I don't know, there's so many fun options here. It could be fun to get some more NPCs involved as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just so we can think about how cool ass those pictures are.
Yeah,
absolutely. Oh my God, some of these are horrifying. Okay. Ooh.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Squintborn gets me every time. I think that's the coolest picture. It is so creepy.
Me too. That's the one I landed on. Whoever Aurora Alice is, that's something I can get into. I feel
excellent.
So maybe it's I'd like to involve a PC in some way.
Okay.
So, Pete, how old is your character? Or sorry, how old is Pete?
Well, Pete is, my guess is, and again, I guess with Changeling it's weird, but he feels like he's probably in his his late 20s, early 30s. That's the vibe he gives off.
Perfect. So definitely a daddy situation there. But it's that and it's Alice. I think I'm between those two, and I'm very flighty and can't make up my mind. Because on one hand, I've got this, sexy bachelor dude who's letting me live with him, and he has this cool pad, and he's a hunky beast and everything. On the other hand, I got this mysterious sort of I don't know. This person could be. I don't even know what Aether is, but I'm sure that I want to know more about it. Right? I think it's that. It's like they're one of those folksy weirdo celebrities or something that I'm just drawn to.
You could literally smoke her during the date. I mean, that's what it looks like.
Oh, that's so hot! Damn,
that looks awesome.
Then tell me. I'm not going to ask. We'll find out in play what makes Pete bad for you in this. But what makes her bad for you in this?
Oh, what makes her bad for me? I think she shows me basically I get nothing from it. I think she's so above me that I'm just chasing aimlessly, right? It's just it's almost this how could I ever aspire to be anything close to you or something, and they just ignore me entirely.
Love it. Excellent. Cool. So write those down into your character keeper. And Darren, your second entanglement and romance.
Yeah, my second entanglement is person one thinks they're protecting me, but I'm really protecting them from blank. How have you kept those up this charade? I was thinking this might be interesting for Pete, that Pete thinks they're protecting me, but I'm actually protecting them from somebody in the spring court who's trying to leverage you for something.
Oh, that would work because Pete would never acknowledge anybody could get leverage on him.
That's perfect. Who do you think that person is?
I want to use Sainted Coils, the Restworn Beast.
Excellent.
Yeah, I thought that would be interesting too. A beast trying to leverage into the beast. It's interesting.
And it's how have you kept up the charade? And I'm going to ask, what do they want to do to Pete?
I think it's a power move, a courtly power move. So maybe maybe part of the danger is it's not just political moving, but it's like Sainted Coils is not above just like murdering Pete to get what they want from the summer court. I think it's maybe like they're trying to like use Pete somehow to push the summer court into like some sort of conflict, which is like probably like a lot of character for spring. But
oh, it would not be hard to like nudge Pete into getting into open conflict with Max. Like it's only people holding him back that's really stopped that.
Amazing, perfect. And I think how I'm keeping this up without people knowing.
Do you have something on Sainted Coils? Or?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking like it's very autumn courty. Maybe it's some sort of like leverage or something that I can like push from behind the scenes.
Okay. We don't have to. You don't have to define it here. I think we can define that in play. Yeah. But you've got something on them that if it comes to it, they know you'd fuck their world.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Excellent. What you thinking of for romance?
Oh, I pine for an object of affection, but they're in a relationship with person one who I hate. I think I would prefer the object of my affection to be someone in the Motley, so I don't hate any of you.
Okay.
Who do I pine for? I think oh, you know what? It might be really interesting if it's Ditto, right? Because as this mirror skin, we're trying to constantly reflect other people's desires. Maybe part of my pining is like this idea that you can be this like ideal, even though that's not like real.
Nice. Well, not nice, but I like it.
It's just interesting because I'm all about not lying or whatever, and like in essence, it's lying. I like that conflict.
I love that. Now, in a relationship with that, I'm going to open up kind of, Patrick, you're going to have an element here for this. Is there someone out there you think you may have a relationship with, or that someone on the outside might think you have a relationship with? It doesn't have to really be that you're together. We just have to have Ash thinking that y'all are some sort of relationship.
I'm cool if you have picked up on / know about my thing for Legion's Lost. That I'm like chasing after him sort of fruitlessly. And you're like, that's never gonna work out. Forget him.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually.
Perfect.
Like I think I'm in competition, but it's like you didn't even think of me that way.
Wonderful. And I don't know if I need to do that, like how you became adversaries. I think probably more along the lines of, I'd like to know, does Ditto know that you pine for them?
I think I try not to be obvious about it. I think it's a lot of forlorn. It's probably like we're all at court and we're standing with our own separate, or we're all at like whatever, big meeting, and we're all with our separate courts, and it's like forlorn staring across the hallway.
Love it. Excellent. That's cool to discover that in play. Oh, I love it. Wonderful. Like that. And Chris, your second entanglement and your romance.
Okay. Let's see. My second entanglement. Person one hired you for a job involving person two, and you fucked it up. I'm thinking that Ash maybe engaged me to find out some stuff involving either Ditto or Keen. I think it could work with either one, since Ash is great. Ash is really big on finding out stuff about everybody.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I like that.
And I think the way he screwed it up is it was supposed to be something that was supposed to be like kept quiet, and Pete doesn't do quiet well.
What if this is how what if this is how a Ditto knows that I'm into them?
Yes, that could be entirely it. Like
That's perfect.
That's pretty soft, but I think that's very funny.
I think that's lovely. And I'm going to ask real quick to you then, Ditto. Have you let on so that Ash knows that you know this?
Well, no. I mean, we've got to stay in a motley and like work together, and that could really screw up our dynamics. I mean, this is already a weird motley. We're all from different courts, and so people think we're gonna like fall to infighting anyways. And I mean, there's legions.
All right, Chris, does that sound good with you?
That's perfect.
Okay, excellent. And your romance.
Okay, this one. I was looking at. I'm drawn to object of affection, but their motley mate, person one, is a sworn enemy. And I was looking at on this one, and I'm not sure if we had ever defined like which of these NPCs are motley mates or not. But I was thinking that
well, your motley mates are the player characters,
right? Well, no, I'm talking about like if there was any predefined relationships between the NPCs.
Oh.
I was thinking probably Max is object of affection would be Sarah No Tears, the physical wizard of winter, and I was thinking that the person that's with them that's a sworn enemy is Wyndham Wales, the toll taker ogre, and the reason that we hate each other is because he and Max are buddies. They're not motley mates, but they're buddies. They're political allies. Huh?
I'm sorry. Repeat that for me. I'm sorry.
Okay. The romantic entanglement is the second one in the beast's list, which is I'm drawn to object of affection, which in this case would be Sarah No Tears.
Okay.
But their motley mate, Winsome, let's see if I can remember. The toll taker ogre, Wyndham Wales,
mm-hmm.
Is a sworn enemy. And I think the reason that we are enemies is that basically he is an ally of Max, of Abyssinian Max's.
Excellent. Okay. I like it. All right. So put that all into your character keeper, and I'm going to pop back to you, Patrick. You think you have that second entanglement?
Yeah. I found one on the Fairest that I thought worked better and it ties into my stuff. So I've been ordered by my courtly superior, Ashwine, who I'm going with as the prince, to undercut Legion's Lost. Because I think Legions is having like there's this shift of power feel in the Winter Court of Ashwine may be on the decline. There may be people that have turned against him, and there's this like popular feeling that, well, I mean, it's not like Legions has said anything about like he'd like to take princeship or anything, but everybody sort of assumes that if we got rid of Ashwine, then obviously Legions. So Ashwine has sent me to try and find dirt on Legion's Lost to undercut his popular support in some way, and I don't want to do that.
Can't do that to your bow.
So the debt owed that I took there is that I owe a debt to Ashwine because that makes it even harder.
Yes.
And I guess out of all of that, Ash probably owes me a debt for keeping the thing from Keen.
Okay. And yes, everybody should go through those entanglements you've made. And one of them will be a debt to someone in there, and one of them will be someone owes you a debt in there. And so pick off of how you've structured that, where you feel that is, and you write that in at the end of the sentence. And again, debts are going to be used. You can pull favors from them. You can drop their name to get stuff, to impress people. There's a lot of pull for your debts, and people will call on you to fulfill your debts, and you'll have the option of declining to do it, but it can be very, very bad.
And just as an extra wrinkle for debts, the other move that I took was Invocation. So I can cash in a debt to appear next to someone that the debt was with, or someone else can cash in a debt on me to have me appear next to them suddenly.
Ooh, that's neat.
I wanted to check one of mine because it's a little. I'm unsure. I need to talk it through. The entanglement I have with you, Patrick, singing branches, my court spirit believes I'm in the service of Ditto from the Winter Court. I'm thinking that I have the debt on singing branches and I owe you a debt. And I'm picturing that as like somehow this has caused a problem in court and like I owe you the debt because you went out of the way to like exonerate us. And then I have one on singing branches because I can be like, hey, remember that time you were really embarrassing? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Because at first I was thinking like I have one on Ditto, but then I was like, I don't know how I would owe you for that, or how you would owe me for that.
Excellent. All right, then. What we're going to do is I think we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to go through our intro questions, and that'll get us our full definitions of our characters. Yes, Chris.
I wanted to run something by Darren right quick. Darren, on my entanglement with you, I was thinking that after that fiasco, I think that Pete would owe you a debt after his screwing up your little mission with involving Ditto. Does that sound good?
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Excellent. All right, then. Well, let's take 5 minutes, and then we'll come back. We'll do the intros, and we'll be... Oh, and Matt's back, but we're going to take 5 minutes, and we'll be back, and we'll do our intros, and then after those are done, I'm going to throw y'all into a little action. And yes, Matt, do you have something?
No, that was one of these, but you're good. Thank you.
All right. See y'all in about 5. Chris, you happen to be a Brandon Sanderson fan? Do you know who he is?
I've read some of his stuff. I read the first volume of his Stormlight Archives. I haven't caught up on the rest of them yet, and I read the last couple of closing books he did for Wheel of Time. And I did read some of the Mistborn stuff as well.
Yeah, Mistborn's his series. You know, that he has that whole overarching cosmology that's all of them together. But he had a kids series, young adult series called Steelheart, and we just got the board game for it, and it's super cool.
Yeah, I'd read some of his stuff, and then Stormlight Archives, the books were so damn thick. I was like, man, I'm never going to be able to finish these.
He's planning for like 10 of them.
I know. I get they're like bricks. I mean, it's it's like the last few. It's like those last couple of Jordan books. Passed away. It's like this isn't a book. This is a brick. This is almost 1,000 pages.
Yeah, they write stories you can bludgeon someone to death with.
Yes. and there was a time in my life where I had time to read all those, and it was a great time. But that's not anymore.
Martin, whenever he manages to put out a book, they're always nice and big. But he'll give you 6 years to read them before he'll put another one out.
Yeah, I'm caught up on Martin. I'm good.
I think it's cute that you still think he's coming out with another book.
There'll never be another one.
He is always coming out with another book. It's just not another book in that series.
True.
Wild Cards. There have been several Wild Cards collections that have come out with him doing some of the editing work and stuff like that. I mean, he's done other stuff. He's edited books. He's written a couple of short stories.
He's got the history of the Targaryens coming up soon.
Yeah, I mean, all of that stuff. It's that last book. I think what he's looking at is I'm never going to be able to actually pay all this off in a way that's going to leave people happy with it.
And then one day, Brandon Sanderson will walk in and finish up the series.
That's what we're probably looking at. Like, I'm hoping like he's made arrangements like Jordan did for the finishing of that. Because I mean, I got the impression that Jordan kind of saw what was happening coming, and he had talked with his wife and the other ministers of his state about settling those out. And of course, he was also a compulsive note taker and note maker, so that apparently made it a lot easier.
It helps people who follow along behind. Hell, Christopher Tolkien has made a huge amount of money because his dad was a great note taker.
Yeah, his dad basically wrote up like 3 or 4 versions of every story he ever did, and like he just never got settled on the last stuff. Like they just released that Fall of Gondolin collection of
yeah, I gotta read it. They picked up the Wheel of Time. Netflix did, I believe. They're going to make a series.
Amazon picked it up.
Amazon.
Yeah,
I wish it wasn't Amazon. I don't have that.
I know Amazon picked that up. They've got the rights to do a Conan TV series. They picked up Neil Gaiman's stuff, the American Gods series.
Yeah,
and there was another one. And Tolkien.
Ooh. Yeah. I did know that they're doing the most expensive TV show ever.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I'm worried that they're gonna do something really awful with it, but
at least they're spending the money.
If they're gonna make it. They're gonna make something. Hopefully, it will be good. We'll see.
All right, then let's hop into our intro questions, and that will flesh out our characters pretty much completely. And we should then be able to get going. So I think I'm going to start with you, Chris. We'll start on your end this time. Look at your intro questions, and I believe the first one is, who are you? Tell us a little bit about your character.
Okay. Humorous Pete is a beast. He is a rot eater. Is his kith. That means that he is his beast form was that of a scavenger. In his case, a hyena, which technically are half predator, half scavenger, but we'll leave that part out. And I think originally, Pete was from what he remembers of himself, he was basically a small time criminal. And
how long ago? When were you taken?
the best he can remember, and because he's a beast, his memories get really, really fuzzy of his time before. He had he remembers basically being a small time criminal, like in the early '90s to mid '90s, and when he came back, he physically he seems to his mien seems to be around early 30s.
Okay. And as part of that, who are you? Do you still consider yourself like a criminal, or do you think that he's increased in, has he changed since he got back?
I think his instincts still have him operating sort of on the outskirts of legality, but he's not really a criminal. I'm thinking he does some does one of those like peripheral quasi criminal things. I think he is a I think he's a I think he runs a bail bond company.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's fantastic. And just to finish out this, who are you? What do you see yourself as part of your motley? How do you see yourself in your motley?
I think Pete sees himself as basically the looming strong arm of the motley.
Okay.
That's like he's pretty sure that either Ditto or Ash are the brains. He's not quite sure which one gets to be the brains, but he'll leave them to sort that out. Keen is the youthful enthusiasm, and that leaves Pete to be the looming strong arm in the background.
Excellent.
Which he's perfectly comfortable with until he feels the need to show off his suit, and then he becomes the face of the motley.
Oh, fantastic! And loyal to the motley, or is there some?
I think he is. He is loyal to the motley. These are folks that he has more long-term connections with than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They've even though they're sort of cross courts, I think maybe all of us sort of arrived in town maybe somewhere around the same time. And
you've worked together. We've built this is built up. So okay. How were you taken?
I think he was involved in like I said, small time criminal activity. I think he was running some like maybe small time like protection rackets and things like that for bigger time criminals. Like he was in charge of the collections portion of it.
Gotcha.
He was one of the people that just sort of wandered around and went to the various places and picked up what was supposed to be picked up.
And what happened?
I think one of the places that he was set to go to start a new protection racket ended up being run by a keeper or one of their agents. And it was a pet store. And to sort of put on a show, I think maybe he made some sort of insinuation about the animals or something like that. And the keeper took offense to that and decided, well, if you think you're going to do that to my animals, then maybe you need to see things from the other side of the cage. There we go.
And hauled you back. And it's the blackened pins. Is that?
That's the one I picked. I think as a rot eater, like he was the sort of grim and disturbing sort of garbage disposal. He was the looming threat to every other beast in the pen. Like if you don't follow the rules, they're going to throw you into we're going to throw you in here.
How did you hang on to your last shreds of humanity while this was going on?
I think based on what I've got, the picture I've got of Pete in my head right now, I think he held on by remembering humor. Like his approach to everything in his life is based around making a little bit of fun of it, like a gallows humor sometimes, but that's how he dealt with it. And the thing that preserved his humanity was his ability to remember and laugh at jokes, anecdotes, you know, lines from sitcoms that he enjoyed, like just silly, stupid shit like that. That stuck in his head.
Could you laugh at yourself in your situation?
He could, and it helped being sort of a hyena. So that
Wonderful.
made it easier.
When you came back, you found that need to carve out a space of your own. You created your den, a place of your safety. What is your chosen territory? What is it that drew you to build a den in this place? Where in Chicago?
It's Navy Pier.
Navy Pier?
Yeah.
And why? Why was it?
Because Navy Pier is like the most fun place in Chicago to him. Like there's all sorts of craziness going on. There's these ridiculous carnival games. There's these stupid little souvenir shops. There's rides. There's restaurants and bars and food carts. And it's like all of the stuff that makes you want to go out and just wander around in the night and have a good time. Like that's
excellent.
That's why he picked it. And his den is a on all the manifests, it's a storage room for like one of the nearby attractions. But it's not actually a storage room. It's a den, and it's a greater den. Like I took that move to sort of.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So it's got hidden entrances at the water level. So he's got like a couple of like little small running boats that are stored down there for a water escape route.
Who are your allies that help keep an eye on it?
I think it's folks that work for his bond business. Like
gotcha.
He's gotten them out of jail. He's gotten them a little job working there at Navy Pier, running some of the little carnival games and stuff. And
so it's even clients. It's not just the people working for you. It's clients who you've bailed out of jail as well.
Right, and they're getting paid by the Navy Pier, and thus they're having money to pay me. So it works out. It's a beautiful little ecology of exploitation.
I love it. Now I have, you're loyal to your motley mate, but what is that line? What will you not do? Protect your motley mates.
I think repeat the one thing that he will not do under any circumstances is make any kind of deal with the keepers or their agents.
So no matter what, never again.
He might fight them. He'll jump into a fight with a keeper or a loyalist or whatever, but he will not make a deal with them. Like he will not trade with them. That's where he draws the line.
That makes sense. I like it. Never again near their leashes.
Yep.
Bravo. All right. So we go over to you, Darren. Let's do your intro questions. Tell us about you.
Ash Nickel, which that's what he's calling himself now, because Ash and Nickel apparently are both bases for tattooings for Black Wings, which I didn't know, but there you go. That was a quick Google. I think that Ash used to be this really typical, well, he was a Chicago native, and he was this really typical like business, like office worker. And he like just kind of like went to work and did his own thing, and he like never really like got involved in anything like that. And I think the way he was plucked up was that there was some like protest happening in downtown Chicago or wherever he was working, and he was like trying to leave, and I think he got like swallowed up by the crowd. And then when he like finally found his way out, he was not in Chicago, and then taken hostage as one is taken, and like basically strapped on to work.
When as this just wage slave in Chicago, did you have any tattoos then?
Oh yeah, no, I don't think so. I think that he was like, he never even considered it. he just like went to school, got his job, and he was living his like basic life. And I think like being taken, I went with the Lament Panopticon for where he served his durance. I couldn't think of like a good name, but Panopticon's really good for what he was for his durance. So I think just part of that, like, I think there was almost like a loss of self where like he became part of the thing that was being recorded on. So in a way, his own body was like referential for his keeper. So yeah, so I think coming out of that, there was like when he came out of the Arcadia or wherever, and I think there was kind of that like a weird sense of loss by not having marked skin. So then like afterwards, he tattooed himself or got tattoos.
Excellent. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. How long have you been out of the hedge?
I think just a couple of years, like just enough to be like not really new, but also that his durance still feels very fresh.
And when did you go in?
Oh, I was thinking maybe he was like an accountant or something to do with like stocks or whatever those people are. So maybe it was like, when's a good time for this?
Well, it could be, I mean, if you want to be from way back, it could be the Great Depression. So,
oh my God. No, I want him to know how to use a cell phone.
then it could have been, if you want some disastrous moment, the Great Recession. So,
yeah,
you know, about 10 years ago.
You have those bookends. Maybe like right before, maybe like 2000, maybe like 2012, 2013, like when there was like an upswing really, although it didn't really feel like it. Maybe that's when he was taken.
And then he was taken off, and it seemed like forever in his task, but has come back relatively few years having passed.
Well, I guess 2 years ago, wherever 2 years ago is. So 2016 maybe, or if it's like if we're setting those a few years before 2013. So yeah, something like that.
Okay, so your durance, like you went off, it seemed to take forever, but you appeared back like the next day?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Like it felt like forever. Well, it probably was forever, right? In the Fae land. Yeah, but it was actually it's probably just enough time where it's like disorienting. Like there's been enough technological progress and like weird social movements that I think that Ash still gets tripped up on some things in society. I mean, it feels like very out of touch sometimes.
Okay. I'm going to ask this, even though it's not on your question, but where I think this makes some sense. Since you came back relatively quickly, did you go back in any way to your old life?
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
Or did you shun it completely?
Well, yeah, I probably tried because I probably wanted a sense of like normalcy and like control. But that's probably where like I found out about my fetch and everything. So it was probably like ultra disorienting because I probably tried to do it really quickly. And then it was like a new trauma of like, holy shit, things are not the same. Ooh, and that would probably tie into like doing these sort of like quote unquote self-care things that probably weren't very self-carey, of like tattooing himself completely. It was probably like a little manic and like probably had to crawl out of that hole. So.
And I'm guessing in that time you found your motley mates and they helped.
Yeah, I was thinking that I probably am super into this motley because whether or not it's true, I think that everyone here is like very truthful and no one's lying to me at least. So I like hold on to that as like it's a good anchor in the world for like my life before had been taken over, and I just went through this like really traumatic experience of the durance in general and like everything I had to do. And then I was probably like crawling out of that second like hole basically and finding them. I think I have this whole story built up about our relationship that would be nice if it were true, but you know.
I love that. I love that you're a seeker of truth, but sort of kind of lie to yourself. That's beautiful. You were trained to do it. I think we've talked a bit about it, but you want to kind of give us an idea of like a strong hit point of what it was you were trained to do?
Oh yeah, so I was thinking at first it was just recording like words or like written things, but then I wanted to tie it more in with tattooing, or like how he could transition to that into tattooing easier. So I think it was like full on like visual, like audio visual recording. So it was like writing things down, recording conversations. It was like sketching people. He was like a court stenographer and like sketcher all in one. And like it was probably like a strange personal assistant type of position where he was just like keeping track of everything, but because it was for his keeper, it was like everything through his keeper's lens. So like none of it was like the fact of it, but it was like what the keeper wanted to portray, because
and it was just like just moved through you, like you knew the lies they'd want to hear. Is that how it was?
Yeah, I like that actually. Yeah, there was probably no like communication, right? It was just like training in this like instinctual way, and it was like, yeah, that's what the keeper like shaped him to do, was to be like in touch with what his keeper was saying or doing or whatever, and how it should be portrayed to like the other Fae.
Like your Trump secretary, where you go, oh no, they said you were wonderful, don't worry, sort of shit.
The
Okay.
constant Trump administration press conferences.
All right, excellent. And I want to pop up here with your, you have your practice perfection that you do these tattoos, and so you can do them extremely fast. Does that translate to? Do you write fast? Can you draw fast? Or is it just the medium of putting it on someone?
Yeah, I want to keep it to tattooing. And I was thinking about how this tied in with the Durans. And I think maybe the reason why his skin is like flaking and like cracking, and there's like those images or words that fall off of him instead of just like skin, is because the way the keeper would like recall things would be for him to like force it to come up on his skin. So yeah, so I think he's just very quick at tattooing.
Oh, I love it. And that makes it so very personal. Of course, it has to be on you or someone. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. And our final question there is, what rule is most important to you?
Yeah, so again, with this whole thing about subjectivities of like truth and experiences, I think the rule that Ash holds most important is that he has this idea that truth is objective and empirical, and like facts are like true, and knowledge can be like, knowledge is only one thing. So I think that this rule is that like people are either lying or they're telling the truth, and people should tell the truth because the truth is real.
I like that. I like that very much. That plays so perfectly with what you're doing. That kind of permanence of information because it's on you. You know, that's lovely. Very, very good. Thank you. Matt, let's go through and find out. Keen, tell us about Keen.
All right. So Keen is Finnish. She immigrated to come to Chicago University. She's a musical prodigy. She's a flute player and sort of like a classical player. She's fairly young, or she was when she was taken. I don't know how time exactly works when you're in the hedge, but I guess you come back and you're the same as you were before, right?
Yeah, you can toy with that however you come back the twisted thing you are now.
Great. So I think that she was kind of climbing the ranks very quickly, becoming a big name, sort of. Lydian is like a stage name. It's like a musical reference. It's a type of scale that's very wistful and melancholic sounding, sort of. So I want her to have that kind of, misty green, just picture a coast in Finland somewhere. And that's kind of like how her nature, sort of, which is obviously tainted a little bit by this whole thing.
The fjords.
Yeah, the fjords. And I think... Yeah, she is tall, very slender, very long neck, kind of pretty much white hair, Yeah, white hair at this point. She is pretty. She's very sharp as far as like sensorially. I think I'm going to take the move that augments my read a situation, whatever it's called, scrying. So she can kind of do that through the air because of her experiences. So is there any other thing from Who Are You that we could get?
Yeah, when were you taken? Did you come back to a world that was very changed, or was it just a day?
I think, I want it to have been fairly recent. I don't think she's like a girl out of time or something.
Mhm.
But I think she was there for several years, probably like 3. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
So 3 years ago, you were taken. When you came back out, how long had it seemed that you were in there?
I guess maybe what it seemed like maybe 3 or 4 years, but I think what I'd actually like is for it to have been less time, maybe like 6 months or something, so that people are I don't know if people are still looking for her and she's sort of evading it. That could be interesting.
Well, we mentioned, and again, I'm going to pardon me if I sound like I'm over explaining, because Darren mentioned a fetch, and I know you'd mentioned some of the lore you don't know. When you're taken, in many cases, they'll leave a simulacrum of you to continue along. In most cases, they will. People who are stuck in the hedge for ages and ages will find their fetch is dead. You come back soon enough, though, your fetch is living your life. Your family, your friends believe that that is you.
Great. Then I love that there's a simulacra of me. A simulacrum.
So you were only gone a short time. You come back, something, because you know it's not real, is pretending to be you. And on this, how, what are you like? I think I'd like to know, having come back through your durance, what do you see yourself as? What do you believe your purpose is now?
Well, maybe I should talk a little bit about what my durance was like, and then that could explain that.
How were you taken? Let's start then with, how were you taken? How did you get snatched by the Fae?
I think that this was one of the most important performances I had made, probably with like an international symphony or something like that. I was doing like a sonata, a flute sonata or something like that. And I like the idea that I had just taken like ecstasy before the show or something. So it was just the inspiration from Sense8, because one of the characters does that in that show and then plays like a huge concert. And I just love that idea. I think it's hilarious. So it was like one of the most emotionally affecting performances anyone's ever heard. And I was like channeling some of my folk music and my inflection and everything. And I think the power of that sort of maybe attracted some Fae. And, I walked off stage, and, after that, I just changed into, they replaced me.
Did your keeper trick you, or did you walk in willingly? Did they offer you something and you chose to follow them?
Yeah, I think I like that they offered me something, because I was looking for any opportunity I could get. So maybe it was someone approached me backstage with an offer I couldn't refuse to sort of perform for someone important, or some gig that I can.
You'll be heard by the greatest of all people. Your talents are so wasted here. Come with me.
Mm-hmm.
And you answered.
Of course.
Ended up where? Where did you serve your durance?
I'm looking at all these now, and they sound so awful. So I like that mine appears sort of serene. Like I like that it's some garden where someone's growing something, and there were lots of birds around and something like that. But there was some sort of under some sort of thing underneath it all that made it. I don't know what a fairy would grow in their garden. Maybe they were growing poison or something. Or
Okay. As a suggestion, I mean, and just as a suggestion, do you see your durance as you were doing things while others suffered, or did you suffer during your durance while others watched?
I think I was just forced to perform. Like I like the idea that I ended up being, transmuted into this element of air that would sort of blow through the gardens and play the chimes for them, which maybe they needed for their plants to grow or something. But I was never allowed to speak. I was never allowed to sort of like, I had no autonomy basically at all. I was like, it was slave labor the whole time. And it basically took the thing that I loved to do and made me hate or made me resent it or scared of continue to do it.
I love that. All right, then. So you can choose one of those, but if you don't think any of them fit, you can of course add one. So think, don't have to do it right this moment, but think of some name that fits, the blissful garden of eternal sorrows or something. Who knows? Yeah, but come up with some little clever thing. But how did you escape? And I think I'm going to ask here, along with that, did you want to escape?
I think that I was sort of like almost blissed out into being deceived into just enjoying what I was doing. Like it was this false joy that I was feeling constantly. And I think the thing that sort of pulled me out of that was the birds in the gardens. That I think before I used to maybe live on a rooftop apartment or something, or I always used to be up there and like tend to some pigeons or something, or I just used to have some sort of relationship that those birds reminded me of like my previous life. And maybe I ended up being able to sort of communicate with them a little bit. And I like that some magic birds helped me get out of there. I don't know how, but
I think that's a lovely idea. Like, hearing them and they could fly beyond the hedges of your garden and you followed their song.
Yeah, somehow I was able to sort of like glide or blow out of the garden, deviate from the path that I had been forced to take by following the birds. Yeah, that's really good.
I love it. What don't you understand about the world now? And we've said that it's not been a hugely like a big gap in time, but things have changed in you. Now looking at the world, what is something you can't understand anymore about it?
Well, part of it is I think that I was this prodigy in this very specific environment, sort of doing my thing and thriving because I was good in that environment. Now the world is a little overwhelming because I don't have that anchor to anchor me in this strange place that I don't understand. Now I'm just in Chicago, and my senses are so heightened at all times because of what I was doing constantly that I think I get disoriented easily on the streets. But in quieter situations, I'm much more adept at sort of like parsing things, and that's when I sort of shine.
I'm going to ask, still in that set of question, your motley mates found you. You have like Pete, who you live with, who kind of looks out for you. What do you think of where do you see your place? What is your vision of your place in your motley?
I think that I believe that while they are all wise in their own ways, strong in their own ways, I believe that and this is a little bit youthful arrogance sort of, but I believe that I can sort of see or hear deeper than others, as if sort of, because I like that she was experimenting with drugs a lot in school, and she has this idea that like, that's why she was pulled through, and sort of those things are more perceptible, and she is able to understand things that are above even the other changelings sometimes.
Oh, I love it. And that brings to the question, when you close your eyes and listen, what do you hear?
Oh, I hear those chimes. It has to be that those melodies that just it's like tinnitus when you get that whining in your ear, except when there's silence. I hear that and I have to really focus to sort of tune it out. And it's my name is almost a mockery because the chimes play the Lydian mode, and it's kind of like this beautiful, sound, but it's what I hear all the time, and it's what I'm reminded of whenever I hear my name.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, I love it. All right, Patrick. Let's hear about Ditto.
Yeah, real quick, I wanted to say for you, Matt, because you're playing the Elemental, and I've played it before, and it's sort of a slightly more complicated at character creation. What it means when it says in the Primal Forces move, begin with 2 elemental effects. In the drop-down list, you'll see some of your elemental powers have an asterisk after them. You get 2 of those for free, and they're basically like the other half of your Primal Forces move. Then after that, you get to choose 2 non-asterisks ones as well.
Thanks, Pat. That's great. I had no idea, so that was very helpful.
I was realizing that it's not listed out anywhere, and it's just something that you sort of figure out.
Thank you.
So let's see, my thing. Mine starts with who are you, which is I'm Ditto, and I think I had other names at one point, but that's not important, and those aren't mine anymore. And I was taken, and my durance and everything is all tied up together. There was this like traveling wax museum. The best places to get taken in a horror/fairy movie. But yes, I went into a traveling wax museum, and it was eerie and creepy and very like lifelike, and I just sort of got lost in staring at them, and I didn't realize how much time was passing. And then it was like way after everyone else was gone, and it was the middle of the night, and there was this curator who was there, and there was a mirror, and he ended up like reaching into the mirror and chaining my reflection, and then I was part of the traveling wax museum.
When do you think this happened?
So I think this was like 20 years ago. But he hasn't really aged. He's looks about 30. And I don't particularly want to play. I like the 20 years for like his storyline purposes, but I don't particularly need to play into the out of time feel. So I think what is it called, the Grinning Waxworks. It's this keeper and his sort of wax menagerie that he travels through the mortal world regularly and sort of peeks into corners of it.
And picks out new exhibits, one assumes.
So I think I've sort of kept up with like what the internet is and what cell phones are and texting and this crazy newfangled technology and stuff.
Well, with that in mind then, do you think, did you have to help your keeper bring in new people?
Yeah, in a way. Basically what I was used for is like when he caught me in that reflection, like he reached in to my reflection and cut and shaped and molded me and made me sort of part of that mirror. And so when we would be more in the mortal world and visitors were coming through, like I would be chained in this mirror, seeing people, absorbing their appearance, and then when they were gone, I would change. I would take on the appearance of visitors and be a model for him to make these wax dummies off of. But it's, there's some sort of like stealing of bits of them that's involved, so that I think like these people that have been made into exhibits in the museum, in their dreams, and especially in their nightmares, that's where they are. They're stuck in this form. They're living this like entombed nightmare sort of scenario.
Do you think the curator was asked by other Fae to make fetches for him? Do you think you helped make fetches?
Yeah, probably. I think I definitely had a fetch, which went off, and it was obviously a wax copy, but it went back into the world, and I think it died fairly soon after in a fire, because that's appropriate for a wax fetch.
Mm-hmm. And in a lot of cases, they try to get that fetch out of the way, the true fable, and fetches have a tendency to get into trouble that gets them killed. Okay, but there is someone from your life you still look towards, you still check in on.
Just to keep all of our mirroring and doubling and twinning themes going, it's my twin brother. He's around 50 now. We're like separated by 2 decades or so, but I think he still lives in Chicago. He's sort of forgotten, moved on. I mean, it's been almost 20 years since I died for him. But I still make sure to look like other people anytime I'm going to go near him. But yeah, I keep an eye on him.
Because he would recognize even a younger you. Your mask, which I'm guessing is younger you.
Yeah.
So he saw it in the mirror for years. Mm-hmm. He would recognize it. So you keep yourself hidden, but do you take any action? Do you do things to help him?
So I think it's Chicago's a dangerous place. There's weird supernatural shit going on. I can't protect him all the time, but I try and guide and nudge him and keep him away from those streets or those parts of the city that I know have a tendency to just be malleable, to open up into the weirdnesses, to have things from the other world, because I have this fear that why wasn't he ever taken? Is someone still after him? Something might be coming at me through him.
What is it that he has, that he keeps, that he has never forgotten or stopped loving you?
I think it's I think he has a shirt, a camp t-shirt sort of thing from when we were younger, that's framed and hung up in his house somewhere. It was mine, and it's got it's signed from him to me sort of on it. But yeah, he's kept that.
Love it. And I believe our last question there is, what strangeness are you currently investigating? Because there's strangeness and you like to investigate. So what is it now?
So I think right now there are these reports and occurrences going around the university of mirrors. The reflections in them are sometimes time lagging. Sometimes just a little bit, it's sort of like a tracer, you don't even notice it sort of thing. But sometimes reflections are hanging around for 10 or 15 minutes before they go off to follow their person.
Can anyone see that? Or just because mirrors, or just someone with a face sight? Or
I don't think anyone. Again, with the things sort of we've got out on the table, and it's a university, I think students that are, kids that are particularly intoxicated, really drunk or really high, they'll have these stories of the weird ways that these mirrors are acting. But of course, no one really believes them because they're fucked up.
Your reflection's still in the mirror, man.
But yeah, no, people who are normal people who aren't in an altered mental state, they can't really see the reflections doing weird stuff.
Oh, that's neat. I'll have to screw with you on that. All right. Well, I think we've gone through our intro questions, and I had intended for this session to be a lot of, I wanted us to really feel like we had a well fleshed out group of characters, group of motley mates, and the city felt really real. Sorry. So I'm gonna throw us in here to our opening bit, and it may not get super far in, but I think we're gonna start with getting us into play. So, you as a motley have gone out into the hedge because someone wanted something, and they asked you to get it. You had as a group agreed to do so. Let's start with you, Chris. Who was it that wanted you to go into the hedge and find something? And was it to discover it in the hedge, or were you sent to a goblin market? It can be an NPC. It can be one of your motley mates that's looking for something, and y'all went in there for.
I'm gonna say that he got asked to find something for, or we got asked to find something by. I think we're gonna lean into the motley a little bit here. I think that we're actually doing something for Ash. He's got something he's working up, maybe some sort of special tattoo, new ink sort of thing.
We'll come to what it might be that we had to get. But so we think Ash. And did you go just foraging out in the hedge, or did you go to a goblin market?
Oh gosh, both of those are good. I think we start out at the goblin market, and I think we eventually had to go into the hedge because the guy that had what we needed at the market wanted something from the hedge.
Ooh, I like that. So, Darren, we're going in to find something for Ash. When we got to that goblin market, we'll come to what we were looking for at the end. But when we got to the goblin market, what was it that guy at the market, that goblin at the market wanted that you weren't willing to give? And that he wanted you to go look for, or what made you decide that screw him, I could find it on my own?
I like that these goblins have an idea of who we were and our endurances, and I think that this goblin wanted me to tattoo a contract onto him, whether or not that actually has some effect in like increasing its like powers or permanence or something like that. Oh, maybe it wasn't on him. Maybe on them. The goblin wanted me to tattoo one of their goblin contracts onto someone else, as if to make that more binding or something like that. And that can be real or not. I don't know. I think that's cool. And I refused because goblin contracts are pretty shifty. So then they didn't want to make a deal, and then we struck out to the hedge on our own.
Excellent. So turning away from the market. And Matt, just so you know, goblin markets are the goblins, the hobgoblins are creatures of the hedge. They find all sorts of crazy stuff. And they want lots of crazy stuff in return. So after dealing with this market and Ash saying, no, we can't do this, you went out into the hedge. What was it out there that you saw that told you something was coming to Chicago through the hedge? What did you see as you were searching that told you something was on its way?
I like that it's some kind of, I was reading through some of I don't remember which playbook it was, but something had pollution as the type of kith. And I like that it's either like smog, or I like that there's more of like a physical manifestation. There's this movie I watched when I was younger and there was like this black sort of like tar creature, and it was a movie about deforestation. Fern Gully, thank you. And the toxin creature was voiced by I don't know who, but whoever it was had a wonderful voice, singing voice. But something like that, like I want to get a little more specific here, but I like that it's like because it's cool if it's like it's fine if it's like an overall force, but I like it better that maybe it's like a herd of something that brings pollution, of sort of like smog creatures or or noxious things.
So you see this as y'all are moving through the hedge, and Ferngully, amazing tone, Locust the lizard, whoo, can't beat that. As you're moving through here, you see in the distance, and the hedge is rows. Sometimes it's clearings, but with that constant bramble on the outside. But you see moving across this creeping fog, but you can hear women's voices screaming in fear in the fog. You can't see their forms. It's as though that mass, that black ooze, is just radiating the screams of women. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. Yeah, and it could be even like, we don't know if that's the thing itself, or that's the trail it's leaving behind, or it's just that's there.
Excellent. All righty, and Patrick, what is it that you find that Ash has been looking for, and what do you have to give up to get it?
So I like the idea that it's like a thorn off a particular plant. Like that's what he's going to use to do the tattoo, to ink it.
The needle.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's gonna take, like, it's gonna really puncture whoever takes it. Like a lot of blood is gonna flow, but there's got to be like a memory that goes with it, like something safe and warm and important sort of memory.
All right then. Who do you think is the one who plucks the thorn? Patrick.
I know, I'm thinking. I think it's Keen. I think Ash convinces Keen that since she's so ephemeral, like it won't even be able to sting her, and that's just not true at all.
Is that okay with you, Matt?
Yeah, and I think it's also like horribly traumatizing too, because like maybe I think there was a lot of thorns in the garden itself, so I would like, I don't know, it's just something that reminds me of like my servitude. But I feel like I sort of like I have to, like, the elder here, one of the people who are guiding me, and I'm, this is my duty to do this. And Ditto's comments would definitely sort of play to my ego enough that I would do it. Like, oh, the wise ones need me for something. Great, I am useful.
All right then. Well, let's we should at least throw dice once. Somebody should. So Matt, I think as you reach down and you pluck this thorn away, describe to me the memory that comes to you. It's comforting and disturbing. And then we'll have you roll inner turmoil.
I think that the gardens that I'm thinking of are going to have the word saccharine in them or something, like sickly sweet kind of. And I think that the fae that would tend to them was like an older matronly woman, and I think that she had this beautiful voice when she would sing and walk through the gardens. And there's something about that voice that like soothed me. Like maybe that was what was keeping me tethered and keeping me sort of like bound. But I think that what she was brewing, maybe I knew that it was like a poison that was going to be delivered to someone, or I'm trying to think how this could be like really, really dark. I mean, that's pretty good.
That's pretty darn good. I mean,
What if your keeper like brought the person they were poisoning to the garden and like showed it off to you? Showed them off to you. Like, look at who you're killing.
Yes, definitely. That's perfect.
Love it. And so as you touch this, this memory floods through you. We're going to roll an inner turmoil, which you can find in the basic moves. And it's when you deal with forceful emotional turmoil or pressure from your past life durance, or relationships, you're going to roll. Now, you get to choose which of your stats you think applies here most. How are you emotionally feeling as this happens? Is it sorrow that's overcoming? And also keep in mind, this for everybody to know, these stats move on either side of that. So if it's joy that you choose to roll with, it can also mean because you've suffered some, something terrible that is the opposite of that joy. Or, there are ways to play it in from either side if you want.
Great. I think that as I sort of bend down to grasp the thorn and pluck it, I think that what comes over me is I think I'm going to roll calm, which is not going to be great. Sorry, everyone. It's a -1. But I think that it's sort of, I am almost lulled into that state of like false. I don't have the perfect word for it, but that it's just like a soothing feeling, but that's almost like tranquilizing to me, sort of.
Kind of a fugue.
Yeah, definitely sort of like a fugue. And yeah, I don't really do good in that situation because it sort of paralyzes me, because I feel like I can't talk, I can't, act of my own will. So let's see how this goes. 2 -1. I'll be purple. Let's do it. Okay, that's a 7. Just close, just barely.
That's not the worst thing in the world.
Nope.
You must decide whether you want to flee the scene, mark your clarity, which again, we're talking about, you'll start on that clarity mark. If we fill up all 5, but you got to fill up clarity mark to 5, then you get 1 advance. Once all advances are full, you go crazy. But you can mark a clarity, or you can mark a condition until you change the situation. And when we mark conditions, what we'll do is on each of your stats, you'll see there's a drop down beside, say, joy. You hit the drop down, it's going to put a line through it. You cannot roll with that stat if it's marked. We clear conditions through various means. Getting glamour does it. There are moves that let you help other people get it. There are ways to clear conditions. And in this case, until you change the situation, which would be something we do narratively. But that's conditions. It's nice that we're getting to see that. And if you ever fill up all your conditions and drained, you're dead. Drained is a physical condition, as in you've taken damage for it. A little harder to get rid of, by the way. So, what do you think on that?
I think that I'm probably going to mark a condition, and I think it's going to be power. I think what it's going to be is like subservient. I almost went with calm, like unreactive as well. Like, I think she's just sort of on this like autopilot fugue state, sort of, and she'll just kind of like do what the others tell her to for a while, as if she feels like she's lost her agency for a little bit.
Patrick, am I wrong that you have to mark the condition you rolled with if you do that?
It's anytime you roll a move and either a hard move or a consequence of the move makes you mark a condition, you have to mark the stat that you rolled with.
I'm so sorry then, yes. Matt, it would have to be joy or calm if you wish to mark a condition. I'm sorry, it's, again, pulling these rules together.
No problem. That works just as well. I almost chose calm first. Apathetic and unreactive are very good for that as well. There's a little bit of the subservient thing too.
Cool. All right, so you're marking this condition. So those of you who are around Keen, kind of see them just drop into this. Describe what you look like.
Yeah, so I look like I definitely look beautiful as a way. Like I bend down very gracefully to sort of like pluck. Like I feel like I move like that all the time, as if I'm just kind of like resting on the air around me. But my movements seem almost false in how smooth they are, and almost as if I'm being controlled by another force or something. And my eyes definitely fall and don't really look back up again.
Pete, you're around Keen all the time, so you probably notice this. What do you do?
I think sort of Pete sort of bends down a little bit to try and look at her face. Keen, like snaps his claw.
Yes.
You okay? You look a little zonked out. Did that thing poke you or something?
No.
Well, if you got it, we should get out of here.
Yeah. Give me that thorn, Keen.
And she immediately like opens her palm and hands it to you.
Okay, he takes it in his claws.
As the thorn leaves your palm, Keen, you feel some of that lifting. But you can remember this. I mean, it's so real, that moment. The condition has, you may unmark the condition because the situation has changed. I like this as us kind of learning the rules up on this.
Mm-hmm.
The situation has changed. So you feel that kind of lift from you, but that memory has stuck. I mean, you're thinking about it as you see Pete, you're holding this thing. It's sharp and quite long, but you don't feel anything awful from it. There is a bit of black sap that is running from the back of it.
Ash, do you have something to put this thing in? It's got this this sap stuff may be reactive. We need to put this somewhere where it doesn't get onto anybody else.
Yeah, maybe I did pick up some sort of container from the Goblin Market when we breezed through there. So yeah, I'll offer it. Maybe it's like a bag. It maybe looks like it looks like a Crown Royal bag, but it's a Goblin Crown Royal and a Goblin Royal. So it's just like you can like cinch it up and like this weird thorn should pierce right through it, but that's the goblin-y part. It's a very non-perforated bag.
Okay.
Excellent.
Pete drops the thorn in there and sort of scratches his claws out under the soil of the hedge there, just to make sure there's none of that sticky stuff still left on them.
Ditto. They've been doing this, but something has kind of caught your attention back behind where you came. And you had seen that black oozing thing and its screams go past some time ago. And you'd moved past that place. Now as you're looking back, you see almost a humanoid form, but it's all shadowy and black. It seems to be clawing out of the hedgerow back to the path you came down, moving towards you. What do you do?
Does it look like it's seen me in particular, or?
It doesn't it's not like screaming and yelling towards you. It's like clawing, grabbing at the grass, trying to pull itself in your direction.
I think while they're sort of playing with the thorn and where to put it and passing things back and forth, I'm gonna fade back a bit into the undergrowth and try and get closer to that thing and study it.
Study. That's exactly what I was thinking we might hit to. So the study move, when you study something in order to change the game state. What do you think you're using? What are you feeling as you do this?
Well, I'm also using my base Darkling move of Know the Shadows to add on to that, but I think this is the hedge, and this is something weird in the hedge, and so it's Fey Keeper stuff. So that'd be power.
Okay.
Dice. So I got an 8 plus 2 is 10.
Oh, fantastic. You get to hold 2. So in that case, you get to ask a question about a situation or place, escape routes, hidden details, biggest threat, blah, blah, blah. Ask a question about a person, motivations, desires, intentions, blah, blah, blah. Reveal a detail, declare something which changes or adds to the established fiction significantly. And that's a big one, because that means you declare something. You tell me what you saw.
I'm going to start with my free question from Know the Shadows. What is not as it seems with this creature being?
As you've kind of moved closer, you could see where the figure is moving out. And now that you see it, it's, humanoid shape. It looks to be a young woman. It's female shaped. But just again, all that black. There's no distinctive features. It's just black, but you could tell it's a female. Their breasts, it's short. It looks like a female, the hair. But there's a black thread of that goo, that thing it's made up of, that stretches back into the hedge that it clawed its way out of.
That thread, does it seem more like a lifeline or like a chain or a leash sort of thing?
Chain or leash. It is. She is desperately clawing away from it as it's grabbed hold of her, as it's trying to pull her back through the hedge with it.
Okay. Then for the other hold, I think I'm gonna reveal a detail.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that chain reaching and that sort of black goo on her, it glints. It looks exactly like the sap from the thorn, and I think that thorn could be used to cut this chain.
Ooh. All right. So you could see in this that it's that same sort of thing. The power of this hedge thorn you have there could break this. And you could hear, as you've gotten close enough, this sound from her. He's going to find me. He's going to find me. He's going to take me. I'll never get away. What do you do?
I run back to the others.
All right. You run back, say, hey.
So there's a creature, a woman. I think she's trying to escape. She's running from the hedge, but she's tied. She's chained.
As you all look back, you could see this now down the path of the hedge. Pete, what do you do?
I think Pete heads down there. He says she's chained, so he's going to walk down there and see if there's something he can break.
All right, you begin stalking down. Ash, what are you doing?
I think I'm calling after Pete. I want to leave. If there's a person chained here, there's probably some fae or gentry close by, and I don't want to deal with that.
Are you saying that, or are you just
yeah. I'm like calling out to Pete, like, Pete, we need to go. Like, don't like go that way. You're gonna run into some fae. Peter.
Key, what are you doing? You see the two of them going down there, and beside you is Ditto looking pretty distraught.
I think this resonates very strongly with me, like a woman captured by some greater power, and I just like give Ditto a look, and if there's not an immediate response, I just go off after Pete, I think.
All right, Ditto, you've discovered this little fact. You see them heading down there. Obviously, Ash is saying, we need to get the fuck out of here. But, you know, they're all moving in that direction. What are you saying? What are you doing?
So I think that's probably like when I'm looking over at the tree or the plant that we got this thorn from, and I'm seeing that black stuff leaking down there, and I make that connection. So I'm running after him, just yelling, Pete, the thorn, you can use the thorn.
Pete, you hear this behind you. What do you do? You're muted, my love.
Pete leans, holds out a hand to Ashley. Let me hold the thorn right quick.
No, we came all the way in here to get this. We need to go. I'm not giving you my thorn.
Ash, she needs to go.
God, we're not going to leave without this, are we? Are there any more thorns left on the plant?
As you look back over there, if someone's willing to pluck, there might be a couple more you could get.
Oh yeah, that's right. We got to pluck it. Okay, well, I mean, I'll give them mine, but I'm going to go pluck another thorn. I'm still not getting involved.
So you hand it over to Pete as you turn back to go get another. Pete, you have this in your hand.
All right, Pete's going to take hold of the thorn. He's going to try and hold it as carefully as he can.
You can have the Chronomoto back too.
Well, you'll need that for the thorn, so I'm presuming he just reached in and grabbed it.
Thank you, Peter.
All right. So you move forward.
Yeah, he's going to try and cut that little streak of goo that Ditto said could be cut with the thorn. As
you move forward and you kind of stab with this thorn into it, why don't you roll a stay strong on this? As you near it, you can feel the like oppressive terror that radiates off of it. How are you coming into that emotionally? What stat do you think is applying here?
Well, I think right now with this stuff, this strikes Pete as keeper stuff, and he's pissed. He just does not like that at all.
All right.
This is going to be anger. All right, the two clear ones are mine, so that's a 4 on the dice. And that makes a total of 6 with his anger. So unless somebody's willing to spend some trust to help me out, that's a 6.
I think if it seems certain that you're right there behind him, Keen, we can do a support, which will add a trust to this, which can be rolled as which can be used as a +1. Isn't that correct? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I think it's like +1 from if you have a trust. If you can spend a trust.
Ooh, yeah. Yes.
Is that generally like a pre-conflict move that you roll to have like hold to be prepared to spend, or is it like an 8 after the roll situation?
It could be an 8 after the roll situation because you're supporting in this action.
I think Keen would definitely like to help. If there's anything she can do, she would love to.
Okay. What do you think? How are you coming at that emotionally? What stat do you think you're rolling?
This is probably anger. I mean, that's the surface level thing, and it seems right to me.
I think so too.
So it basically Pete is going after this cord or this thread of blackness, and I'm helping in some way, right?
Yes. And
Okay.
Patrick's correct. It'll give what it'll give is advantage, and so you would get to roll another die, Chris, and take the best 2.
Great. Should I go ahead and roll +0?
Yes.
All right. Oh, nice. That's an 11.
Ooh, fantastic. Well, in this case, you're adding trust, I believe is your intent, but you can also clear condition on yourself, which you don't need to, ask a question they must answer to Pete, or gain a debt on them.
Ooh.
And describe how that looks with your support.
Uh-huh. I'd like to... I imagine her as having this like flute-like crystalline voice almost. And I imagine she says something that I might not have the words for, but like you know, just I think so. I think that like I'd like for this to maybe like help anchor Pete in the situation, and also like calm the woman who's like frantically screaming, so that he can like better, you know, handle the situation. So but she's probably like cursing the darkness or whatever it is, like, you know, be gone, you plague, or something, you know.
Excellent. All right. So and you're up near her. Is there a question that you want to ask Pete or her? I'll even let you ask her. Or do you want to add a debt to Pete?
No, I don't want to add a debt to Pete. I probably want to ask Pete a question because of the whole romantic interest thing.
Excellent.
Although asking a question of this woman would be very good at pushing things forward. I guess I think a good question to ask Pete is like, do you like truly trust me? Like, can I see the effect of my voice, kind of like there's no alarm or anything, it just immediately like gets to you in that way? Or is it like it's more of the effect on the woman or something that helps us out here? Like, I guess, yeah, does Pete truly trust me?
You get the impression that Pete does truly trust you. I mean, he's a beast and he lets you sleep in his den. Like, there are a few deeper levels of trust than that. Like,
nice.
That's the beast's den is a very private place for all of them, and he lets you guys in there.
Great.
And so, as you come in with this thorn, and you know, you're stabbing at it, and as you do, the thorn begins to like dissolve as it dissolves a piece of this black cord to her. And the blackness that is her kind of, it's like a skin that peels back from her as it is cold back into the hedge, the black thing fall, and is left this girl, young lady. She's wearing outdated clothes, a collar way high, a flared skirt, buttoned boots. She looks terrified. She says, the doctor's coming back. He's going to get more of us. And she collapses down to the ground in tears. And you see her aging rapidly. What do you do?
I think Pete tries to catch her as she's collapsing. Like, because I'm presuming he was right there when she stood up. And like, does she still, like, as she's talking, does she still look human, or is she obviously a changeling?
She looks completely human now that this is pulled back. Almost like, you know, mortals who go and become changelings are twisted and used by the Fae. It looks like she was taken as a mortal and never twisted. Like, like this goop grabbed her. And as she's aging and she looks up at you, Dr. Holmes, you still looking? And sort of passes out. You're not sure if she's alive or dead. As you, Ash, reach down to pluck a thorn, and as your hand touches it, we're going to stop for the night.
Yep.
I hope y'all enjoyed it. I went a little touch over, but hope that was fun. We're going to do a real quick end of session. So if we had any fails, those would have been an XP. We're going to answer some questions real quick. Did you risk or sacrifice to interfere with your rival? We didn't have a chance to do that, I don't think. And that's going to be something along in the game that we're going to have to play with. When we start next time, we're going to kind of highlight some entanglements we're going to play with. We'll play with that more. Did you express your seeming or kith? Patrick, do you feel like you expressed your seeming or kith?
I went and studied things from the shadows. I
think you did too. Matt, do you feel like you expressed your seeming or kith?
I don't know. My kith is I just added one in Zephyrborn, which is kind of like a breeze or something like that. Kind of like born aloft on the breeze. I didn't really use any of my elemental stuff. It was more of something that was referential to what I did, but I don't know if it was exactly the seeming or the kith. Unless anyone else.
Yeah, anybody feel like maybe you saw something in that?
I like the song. Zephyr's always give me the impression of like a sing-song sort of thing. So I thought the song like really came into expressing, especially the way you described like who your character was and how they expressed during their durance, like what they were during that. So
yeah,
they did pretty well.
I think so too. So take an XP for that.
Hey, Chris.
Darren, how do you think on your kith receiving?
Let's see. Maybe yes, because I was very like task oriented and rules based, but I feel like that's that's a light test.
I think you turning back on all this to go get the thorn was pretty good for your kith. Let's see.
Okay. I will take it.
All right. And Chris, how about you? Kith or seeming?
I think what he did, it was more. I'm not sure if it really played into beast or rot eater necessarily, but I could go with the protective end of things, like the beast sort of instinct to protect his own, and the fact that he his anti-keeper bias, but I don't know if that plays into his Sith or kith or seeming at all.
Folks, anybody thoughts on that?
It was so instinctual. I thought it was very bestial of you.
Yeah.
And I think also like the whole scavenger thing, like you were using materials that you scavenged to sort of like help out this person. It's a bit of a like sideways thing at it, but I don't know. You were willing to use up the resources.
Yeah, I agree. I think you could take that.
Okay.
Season. Patrick, how about your season? Do you feel like you were given some winter vibe?
Not really.
How about you, Matt? Any feel from spring? Any hope spring's eternal?
I guess that's what I was kind of trying to do with the help thing, like calling out in that song, sort of.
I think so too. How about you, Darren?
I think so. Just based on the fear, I was really pushing that for my character about wanting to get in, get out.
I like that too. I agree. How about you, Chris? Summer? I think so.
I think he got pissed. The keeper thing sort of set him off. So.
Alrighty. Did you express your humanity? I don't know if we had much opportunity to. We were in a pretty changeling environment the whole way. We had one scene. There wasn't a whole lot of humanity in that one. And did you concede a conflict? No, we didn't do that. Conceding a conflict, when we get to that, is choosing to step away from something or giving someone credit. It's an odd space, and we'll talk about it more when we play next time. So, anything you had yes to, you got an XP. You may keep your XP for yourself or give it to the motley. I would suggest keeping it for yourself this first time. We'll talk about more what does when we get to the motley in our next one, I think. So I would suggest hang on to those. We'll build up a little bit of motley XP if we want later along. So that was our first game of Changeling. I know we did a lot of character gen and world build, but I thought it was great. Your characters are amazing.
I'm excited for this. I think this is going to be cool.
Me too.
So much fun.
And so next time we start up, we'll be hopping right into action, and we'll be spreading out things. I do have a bit of an arch for the story, but at the same time, we have lots of cool things y'all are doing, and we will address those. That's going to be the fun part. When we start next time, I'm going to have us highlight one of your entanglements you think is interesting and you'd like to explore. And when we do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give an XP if we hit that entanglement to the person whose entanglement it is, and that person can give out an XP to the person who helps them get it out. So we're going to look at it a little like a flag, where I want to get this out, you help me do it, and together we can get some XP out of it. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, then. Well, I'm going to stop the broadcast. Folks who happen to be watching, watch more. And thank you.